What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are at the Kingsland in Brooklyn, and today we are here with Micah of Oh Sleeper. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you here. Your newest record is Bloody Unbound, right?
Bloodied Unbowed, yeah.
And it came out this year. Is this, being that the Children of Fire came out in 2011 so long, is this considered to be a fresh start for Oh Sleeper, or do you consider this to be just a continuation?
It feels like a fresh start. It really does. With I mean, Titan EP came out in 2013, so like 6 years since we released anything. Everything that's happened with us in our lives in these past 6 years has kind of led to a full like reawakening of our love for music and our love for this band and all the people that it affects and everything and these shows. It's just this tour has releasing the album, hearing everybody's feedback, and then getting out and playing these shows and playing these songs live and talking to people about it absolutely feels like those nerves and the excitement that we got when we first started touring.
Yeah, absolutely. Being that this is technically like the fourth full-length record and you have the EP, does Oh Sleeper have like a sound that you try to maintain through the entirety of your catalog, or does each album call for like a new approach and a lot of experimentation?
I think when we first started out, our first ever album, When I Am God, was very experimental, and we really didn't care what we sounded like. We just wanted to write the music that we were inspired to write, and we wanted to be us, and we wanted to be our own standalone thing. I think once we signed and started touring and got involved in the whole industry and everything like that, we definitely started trying to write music a certain way, and tried to start more catering to the fans and like what we saw as like big moments and sets and stuff, and what we saw was really connecting with people. We started trying to do more of that, but what I realized with that is it kind of became more formulaic in a way, and a little less genuine. And this album was a total throwback to the When I Am God days of mindset, at least. I wouldn't say style so much, but our mindset on this was very much like, I don't really care what this album does. Like, I don't care how big it gets or what masses it appeals to or anything like that. I just want to write the music that we want to write, like, and we want it to be organic. And if it takes us 4 years to write this album, then it takes us 4 years to write this album. But whatever it is when it's done is going to be 100% us right now, not trying to be anybody but us.
Very good. That's how it's supposed to be. Now, in between, like, the last record and this one, Shane was playing with Woven War. So I thought, did maybe him playing with another band and then coming back to Oh Sleeper maybe have some different elements for Oh Sleeper that you didn't have previously?
Yeah, absolutely. When he came back from Woven War, he really inspired us all in the band because of the level of professionalism the Aslay Dying guys just operate with, and they carried that into Woven War, and he learned all of that. And whenever he came back, he was just this well-oiled machine, and it really was like, it was inspiring to see like how proficient he was and how confident he was, and how professional he was whenever we were doing practices or anything like that. And it was inspiring to be like, man, well, I got to get my shit together. This is like, he's really on top of it. And so I think that he absolutely brought a lot of inspiration for just kind of how they do things into us. And now we've been getting a lot of comments from people who we know closely, from bands, from producers, from industry people, saying that this is the best we've ever sounded. And it's like, man, that's crazy when you actually care and you actually really practice and you really try to like do your best every night. Like, it's kind of an aha moment,
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Now, being a vocalist of Oh Sleeper, do you need to hear music before you come up with lyrics, or do you sometimes have like a story or a subject matter or a concept, and maybe that helps determine the outcome of the music?
Yeah, It's a little. It happens different for some songs. Some songs like I'll think of just a concept and I'll be like, man, I want to write this song. One story I tell a lot is on our first album ever, on When I Am God, we were writing a song called "End of a Dark Campaign," and I was like imagine D-Day, and I want to write this song that sounds like you just arrive at this war zone and it's just chaotic and crazy, and then immediately you're hit and you go underwater and you can just kind of hear the water, the battle above you. And then I want it to be like someone reached in and pulls you out and you kind of have that. And I'm sitting there talking to Shane. He's like, okay. And he grabs his guitar and he's like playing stuff and he's like going through his pedal board at the time and he finds this like underwater sounding stuff and I was like, yeah, that's perfect. And he's like, and then we could kind of go and he with this and he does this effect and then it kind of morphed into this thing and he was like, okay, I'll mess with that. And then like a week later he sent me a whole song that was like that, and it was inspired off of what he wrote, was inspired off of this concept to have this battlefront song, and then it sounded like a battlefront to me, and then that was a really great, it was a perfect canvas to write the song I wanted to over it. And then other times I'll just ask him to start sending me riffs, and the riffs that the way that he writes, and it may just be because we've been writing for so long together, but it really, I see colors and I see imagery whenever I listen to his music.
Oh,
and
you have synesthesia?
I don't know if I have it, but it definitely happens. And I'll just, sometimes I'll hear a riff that he sends and there's only one way in my mind that it could go, that like the story, it has an ebb and flow. Like it's like if it sounds tragic at some point, then whatever I'm writing needs to be tragic at that point, and whatever, if it sounds victorious here, it needs to be victorious there. And so that kind of gives you a dynamic of storyline already, and then I can fit that in with the concept that I'm already thinking of and be like, oh, this would be a great time for these characters to go through a crisis, or this would be a great time for this character to have his like big moment, and so it's cool how it does really, the music inspires the lyrics and the lyrics inspire the music, and the concept and everything kind of works hand in hand.
Can your music be open to interpretation, or do you try to maybe make your music clear enough and you want the listener to kind of be informed or kind of see things from your point of view?
Ever since the beginning of the band and even until now, like I've tried to write in a way where there is a surface level thing that anyone could kind of pick up on, like a surface message. But there's also layers of metaphor where people can dig deeper and deeper and deeper to okay, well, maybe that's what this song is about standalone. But if in the context of an album, in this concept of the storyline, it means this. And then there's another metaphor under that of what it was actually inspired on in my own life. And I typically don't talk about those things because I don't want my own personal inspiration for the song to get in the way of somebody else's relation to the song or somebody else's connection. But recently, I've had a lot of great feedback from. I put up a lyric explanation from the new album of one of the songs, and had just some really great conversations spun off that. In a couple of interviews, I've been talking about what they actually mean to me, and where the inspiration came from in them, and that has been really rewarding in talking to people. So, I think I'm going to. I'm probably gonna write a lyric explanation for every song in this album, and that'll be the first time I've done that. But I've always written in a way that I wanted there to be enough depth if someone wanted to just dig and dig and dig and dig, but I also didn't want it to just immediately go over people's heads. So I've tried to like write in a middle ground.
I've heard musicians say sometimes that like if I told the listener what this song means, they're not going to come up with their own interpretation. And I
Yeah.
kind of think that's like I don't think knowing what a song means really could stop a listener from really using it for their own sort of fulfillment.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's kind of where I've landed, and that's the reason why I've been like man, I think I'm gonna start talking about this because I've heard that like even though someone's read my lyric explanation, I've had some great talks with like, man, that's so cool hearing what it meant to you. To me, it meant this, and I was like, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's great. It didn't get in the way. They still are able to apply it personally.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been exciting.
Of course. When you are like looking for inspiration for writing music, is it coming from an internal source, like because you mentioned you see imagery when you hear music and all this, or are you kind of looking outward as a source of inspiration at the world around you?
It's a mix. Sometimes the music that I'm listening to just puts me in a bubble, and my mind just starts racing, and it's I'm barely present, here. I'm just in my mind. I'm somewhere else thinking about this fantastic place. But sometimes, and then 50-50 sometimes what's going on around me just makes me feel like I'm somewhere else. I start getting imagery from that, and that will inspire a song, whether that just be going through like a lot of heartbreak or despair or anything like that. And then I kind of just plug that into my own little fantasy world that I like to imagine in and see what happens. So it's kind of a little bit of mix.
And the final question I'd like to ask you is it's always the hardest question for everybody I interview. How do you know when a song is done?
That is a good question. Man, it is really interesting. I was just talking about this. My wife just started writing music, which is really exciting. She's got a great voice and
Possible collaboration?
maybe. I mean, I would love to. She plays piano and sings, and she asked me the same question, and I was like, I always keep working a song, and I'll work on it and work on it and work on it, and then there's just this kind of voice inside that just says it's not done yet, not done yet, won't show anybody, won't it's not ready. But there's this moment, and it feels like putting the last piece in on a jigsaw puzzle. That's like the best description I can give. And where you're sitting there and you're thinking this whole time, and I get very meticulous about my lyrics, and everything has to fit just right. And sometimes it'll come down to like one last line, and I'll be like, man, I need this line to be good. I need it to like take in the entire song. I need it to recap. I need to do whatever it needs to do. And then I'll get it and I'll write it down and I'll read it over. And then it feels like that feeling of putting that last little jigsaw piece, puzzle piece in, and I'll look at it and be like, oh, it's done. I guess it's done. All right. I don't know. It's a weird feeling, but that is, I guess it's the same thing as like a painter with the last stroke. When do they stop painting? You just have to decide.
Well, I'm an artist, and I could tell you that if you painting, if you go over a brushstroke too much, it's practically irreversible. Nowadays, with music, you have technology. If there's a track in there too much, you could just delete it. You're painting, and you're one or two brushstrokes over, it ruins it, and it's really hard to recover from that.
Exactly. And well, sometimes writing will do the same thing. When you may write something and it's great, and then if you don't accept that it's done, you allow yourself to like rethink it, and you could get totally lost from the inspiration by rewriting it and rewriting it. So it's very important whenever I sit down to write a song to stay on it, and I just stay. That's my world, is that song. I don't write multiple songs at a time, and just stay immersed in it, and then until it's completely done. And then sometimes I'll take like a day or a few days, a few weeks, a few months before I start working on another song, just to really clear all that headspace out and then start fresh on a new canvas.
Awesome way of putting it. Yeah. So before we go, I'd like to thank you so much for your time today. It's a brand new record cycle. You guys are back. Is there just anything else you would like to promote for Oh Sleeper?
Man, I would just say, please check out the album, stream it, buy it, however you like to support. All those numbers help us get out on the road touring. They show promoters that people are interested in different places. So please, wherever you're from, just listen to it a million times and come out to a show and say what's up.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much,
Yeah,
Micah.
thank you, man. Pleasure.
Everybody, we are here with Micah of Oh Sleeper. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.